Welcome to Unparalleled. In this episode, I'm talking to Wes Wilkes from IronMarket and the Net-Worth Ntwrk. Me and Wes explore the responsibility of being a challenger brand in the financial sector and how this drives us to change our industry for the better. We talk about how the loss of a father has driven us to be the best version of ourselves, and we uncover where our drive and purpose comes from. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Wes today about drive and purpose, and I hope you enjoy listening. Thanks for joining us.
The opening line is, Wes changed our lives. Yeah. And like you look at that, and you think, wow, all that accountability and ownership you take on, that's success.
Yeah.
It's quite a hard process when somebody exits a business and then they've done really, really well. That adjustment is really tough. So having, as I say, the mentorship side of what we do, somebody sitting down with you once a quarter saying, you can go and do these things. When Dad, and he worked hard, but he was always home for dinner.
Yeah.
And that's an obsession I have. It follows through. That's such a good question. I think, and again, being really open, I think that challenge is there all the time. At no point do I ever think, should I drop what we do, drop a level?
Hi everybody, welcome to this episode of Unparalleled. Unparalleled is a podcast that sits and talks to those in different industries who are trying to do something a little bit different. And I'm really excited today that we've got Wes Wilkes from IronMarket and Net-Worth Ntwrk joining us today on the podcast. It's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it?
It is a bit tricks you up.
Joining us today to talk about purpose, passion, community and spirit that's in his business that we believe is unparalleled to those in his industry. Wes, welcome.
Thank you, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you.
Appreciate it.
I think how we like to start these podcasts is just to talk about, to get your view on Unparalleled in terms of like what your business stands for, what it's doing, what you stand for, and around that. So just to get your view on why your business is seen as doing something different. And
I think there's probably a few legs to that in terms of the way we approach it. I think the biggest one is that I guess broadly our sector, we're kind of in, I guess depending how you cut the sector up, we're probably in the same sector to a degree, but if you kind of slice that into our financial advice and wealth management, asset management sector, it's often there's a lot of blue. We often refer to it as a swamp. No disrespect to anybody else, but it's all very similar. Blues and purples and suits and ties and that kind of stuff. And we see ourselves as being a bit different in terms of how we deliver what we deliver, and it's very much around kind of our core values, generosity, connection, and deeper relationships with our members. I think the very fact our clients are referred to as members, and they're members of the Net-Worth Ntwrk, and it's a real kind of partnership.
And do you feel that makes a difference to them in terms of the members? Do you feel like they feel more connected? You feel that your team are more approachable then to them because they're on a similar
absolutely
level?
The actual the conceptual birth and how we deliver what we do, it comes of the Net-Worth Ntwrk actually comes from us going through a process of understanding from our members then about how they feel about being with us, and what they feel makes us different, and why they're with us as opposed to others. And from that kind of exercise, we built what is now known as the Net-Worth Ntwrk, and how we connect people, how we have deeper relationships, and how we deliver an experience to our members.
When you did that kind of research, what were the key takeaways? What were the sticky things that meant they liked being part of your business?
It was really about that really deep relationship, about understanding who they were, what they're about as individuals, as people, as families, as businesses, and how that is even more broad and and the families,
Yeah.
and all that side of it. The real kind of the real deepness and meaningfulness of that kind of understanding of who they are and what they're about just builds such a hugely strong connection that's kind of what connects them to us, I guess.
I think there's obviously between we're both in similar sectors, and I think we're both striving to do similar things in terms of have that connectivity with people, because everything you talked about in the opening part was all around people, really, and you get that feeling when you come into your business. And for me, that discovery piece is huge, isn't it? They can't go on. They're not going to come on your journey. You've got to almost go on theirs, haven't you?
Correct.
And you've got to, a lot of businesses in our industry are set up to effectively, this is our model, and you fit in it or you don't.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think what you're trying to do is you've got the model, but it's flexible enough to go, with this, what's important to you, it's important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a couple of things on that. I think our sector in particular, and that's broad financial services sector, tends to use what it knows almost against people, in the fact that, we have all the knowledge, you really need us. And it kind of uses that against people. And we really try
false strength, isn't it?
Yeah, we really try and zag against that in terms of, and again, another one of our core values and how we deliver things is through shared knowledge. And that, again, came out from the experience when we went through the process, is that we are so just open with if we know something, if we learn something, it might be from one of our existing members or someone like you, we are sharing that. That's not like I know something here, I can use that to gather this or gather that. We're sharing it because ultimately that's going to enrich other people's lives. Why wouldn't you not share that? And that's why, and we even go to the lengths of getting our members together. It's another thing our sector doesn't do. They like to keep their clients away from each other, and we love getting them together. We've even built an office around it. It's that real kind of openness, transparency, connection, and the confidence in doing that. I think
it's. I think with that kind of bit with the client journey, it's really important to really have that deep understanding as well, and take that time to understand, because a lot of the time you can, certainly when you're doing that client work, you can see clients as the same. And every client's unique. Everyone will have a different dream or different emotion. Or
you'll see it in yours too, and in ours there'll be a certain firms will have like where here am I going to position a product to this person. It needs to be a pension, or it needs to be an ISA. Where am I going to fit this product into this person or this process, which is absolutely the wrong way of doing it. It's, person first. Let's understand where you're trying to get to. What does that look like? How does it feel? What does it smell like? Where are you? All those kind of things first. And actually, whatever products are available in the financial services suite will be available.
I can't remember who the philosopher was who said it, but I don't know whether it was Maslow, I can't remember, but there's a saying that says, if your only tool is a hammer, you'll treat everything like it's a nail.
Yes.
And I think that's quite appropriate, isn't it?
Correct.
That we've got this
a great
suite of services, we want them to fit those suite of services, rather than thinking, actually, I've got to just step back and understand my client now.
Absolutely. I think that's the same in your field as well. You'll see that a lot. Which is what you're trying to zig away from.
We sort of take that view that every client that comes in has that discovery. We go through that. We call it discovery because it's understanding what their hopes and dreams are, what they're looking to do. Get that depth of understanding so that when we get the chance to advise that client, it's bespoke to them. It's not like best practice. Well, this is what you do. It's actually I really understand where you want to go, and this is how you're going to apply it, because a lot of people, when they run a business, they don't link the ownership of that business to their personal objectives.
Absolutely.
They kind of get stuck into the business, and then they're really comparing to other people in their industry, other friends who've got businesses, and thinking, well, I want to be as big as them, or I want to grow as fast as them. And it's like, no, you only need to grow in line with what your objectives are, because often if you grow past that,
you're just taking risk on there
Yeah.
that you didn't
Yeah.
need to take.
And the ultimate question is kind of when they are thinking in that kind of way is, always try and remind them of why they started this and what they're doing it for. And the ultimate question is when they get to that is well, what for? Why do you want to copy that? Why do you want to grow that big? What for again? Just remind me of that. And actually in that conversation, it starts to come out, all these are all the things I want to do. You don't need to get to that to do this. And how important is it? Which is more important?
And that's where I think the advisor that is so tuned into the end goal for the customer can keep reminding the customer that was their end goal. And you can kind of say, has the end goal changed?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's not changed. Well, then why are we going off on this tangent? Because you're never sure whether if you're moving away from the line, you can never know whether you can get back.
The beauty of that, and that's literally why we move wealth management into what we call wealth mentorship, and we call ourselves wealth mentors, and that's the whole point, because you're mentoring someone on that journey. You're that little reminder every now and again, and I know this is your approach as well, is that little reminder every now and again, don't forget why we're doing this, just let's recalibrate where we are, and that regular kind of constant look is super important.
And just talk to me a bit, because I feel like your business got like real integrity as well, in terms of that you manage the whole process for the client.
Sure.
Not just in terms of the advice you give, but in terms of the investment points.
You've
got points of difference throughout that process.
Correct. Yeah, that's huge for us. That's a huge kind of point of difference, as you mentioned, the fact that we're not just giving advice, being a financial planner or an IFA in its own right is super important. But quite often what happens then is there will be another party involved in the management of those assets. So building portfolios, managing those portfolios, and then all of a sudden you've got two parties. And I'll give you an example. We had a new member in last week, and they brought with them their statements. And I was looking at their statements, and they didn't really understand what it was. And it got their name and address, and then underneath it, it got 1487934, whatever it was, the number. And it just occurred to me, there's no better visual representation of the difference between us and them, in the fact that whoever is managing that investment mandate only knows them as that number. They don't know the person, they don't know the family, they don't know the business, they don't know where they're trying to get to. So for us, because we've got those additional permissions, which only 3% of firms in the UK have that.
And I think as well, it's like they don't want to necessarily know either, because they've very much got objectives around financial, aren't they? That business is driven by its bottom line, rather than by its own ethos, by the way it feels about things. It's cultural differences that set you guys apart. Just talk to me a little bit about what it's like also being a person in that business. So one of the IronMarket team. How does that feel? That's different to, how do you set that apart?
So I think just finishing that point, because it does lead into it, is the fact that we are then, because we're one of the 3% that does both, so we're financial planners, advisors, and investment managers, is that when we are, Jean-Paul and I were talking today on Analyst, and we were talking about obviously what's going on in the stock market right now, whatever date it is today, but it's pretty hectic in the US. And we are not then looking at that to a mandate of thinking, that's a bit rocky for numbers 147 to number 758 or whatever it is. We're thinking, okay, in terms of the financial plan of Mr. and Mrs. Jones, made up names, what impact is this having? And that is absolutely massive, because we know both. We're involved in both. We sit on both sides. And
you're not just seeing those individuals, you're seeing the depth of the knowledge on those individuals.
Absolutely.
Know how that will ripple through into
the wider
their life.
So that trip to Portugal in 7 years that we're planning for. What's just happened there? The fourth cruise that year. What impact does that have?
It's really interesting, because I think we take a bit more of a financial planning approach at the start of our discovery meets and things like that. So we really focus on the individuals, and you can feel that, because when you get to know that they really want to emigrate and live in Australia, or they want to go on a world cruise, or whatever these things are that are their triggers, once you know them, it becomes a lot more emotional. That connection between advisor and client becomes emotional because you're now, embedded into their journey. You know that if they don't go on that cruise, or they don't go and move their property out to Australia, or they do, you know that somehow you might have got it wrong as well as, the risk is on you as well as them, isn't it?
And that the other one of our kind of 3 core values, which are generosity, connection, and accountability. The accountability bit is when you get to that depth, like talking about, say it was emigrating to Australia, in your example, you as a group, as a firm, but as a group of individuals, you actually take ownership of them getting to Australia, and you really genuinely do, and you feel that. And once you take ownership of that, that's where the accountability is. So whatever we're doing then, whether it's the cash flow forecasting, the plan, the investment strategy, the tax planning, whatever it is around that, or underneath the financial plan that we're looking to deliver, it's got to deliver that emigration to Australia. And that's the ownership of that, and how that looks and feels is exactly what the accountability we take on. You take on more accountability, but that's the only way you can really deliver what those people are looking to get to do.
Yeah, because you have to have that constant reminder that that's what you're there to do, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And if you don't take that accountability on, your perspective will ultimately change to your own business and your own model. And I think we're probably similar on the way that if we get our clients' journeys right, your own business will take care of itself. Obviously you've still got to have leadership, you've still got to guide it and have vision, but the reality is its success will be defined by its clients' success.
By theirs.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I know we were talking about that before in terms of that, and that is ultimately the answer for us. Is we send every single one of our members gets the opportunity to deliver feedback without there's no input from us, and it's kind of no selection process. It's everyone. They just provide feedback.
And any feedback's good or bad is really useful, isn't it?
It is.
I'm sure you're constantly trying to evolve this model and make sure it's, I'm sure you go back to the start of IronMarket, that this wasn't necessarily how you did things, but you already had that kind of undercurrent of this kind of people part, this culture piece, and it's been defined over, getting things right, getting things wrong.
The feedback bit is, yes, you get a kind of a score, but you also get, their thoughts and opinions and feelings, and obviously get to kind of how they feel about stuff is the most important thing. But it also gives you a bit of a sense check on that accountability piece and that ownership of their dreams. Because for example, we had one come through last week or the week before, and I did it yesterday. Just talking about it yesterday, and the opening line is, "Wes changed our lives." And you look at that, and you think, "Wow!" All that accountability and ownership you take on, that's success. That those kind of 4 or 5 words, whatever they are, that is success.
I say that I've been asked this question a few times, but when you look at success and go, you look back in 5-10 years' time and say, what really do you see as success for me? And I've always said I want to look back in 5 or 10 years' time and be able to tell stories about people. And I think that's evident that if I'm not connected to that client base, then I can't tell them stories. If I'm not connected to that team, then I won't know the team well enough to tell the stories. And I think that's what I see as success.
The difference in that, you're so right, and the difference in that between us, I would say, and others in our kind of sector, is when you're focusing on numbers, you're always going to define your success by numbers. Which I can assure you, managing money is pretty tough sometimes, particularly right now. But and that creates, there's no connection with that. If you're just going out, if you're seeing your clients once a year and delivering a report on how their investments have done over the last 12 months, you're missing the what for bit. Or if you're going out and you're delivering a kind of, accounts report on how your business is done. What for? You're then always going to be defined by that.
It's that next connection.
And then you're automatically defining your clients that way.
And I think it's right to say that we're not here either of us talking about our industry in a bad way.
Not remotely.
The way in which our competitors and other businesses in this industry deliver, usually they did do it in a very right way. It's just not the way I feel about it. It's just not the way I want to do it, and not the way our business wants to be. I feel like, and it takes a different kind of person like yourself to go, I want it to be different. Because it's really hard to be different, isn't it? It's really, I'm not saying it's easy to set up a financial advisory business, and that's hard anyway, because it's a step on from being employed by somebody. But then it's another step on to go, I want to do it this way. And I want to walk against the grain, and I don't want to focus on profit. I want to focus on how it feels to be in my either in my business or a member in the business.
Far from being a negative against, it's actually it's trying to create a way that shows people that don't value financial advice, financial planning, investment management, financial services, who don't value it, why they should. So it's actually been a massive champion of what we do. I'm a huge champion of what we do, and it's actually trying to, in terms of what we do and how we're trying to deliver it, is to make it more accessible and more attractive to people that perhaps don't value it.
I remember talking to someone once, and they said to me, "Your problem is that you can't accept above average," because they said at above average, you'd be more financially successful. and I said, I had no doubt, but I can't do it. And I won't do it. And actually, financial success is, I see that as a follow-on of the cultural and the people success that we have, rather than it's our focal point. I don't judge the business on how financially successful it is. It doesn't mean we're not. It just means it is a byproduct of all the other things, rather than it's because if I make financial decisions, if I chose to, for the next year, to decide things based on financials, our business would change. It would be an unrecognisable business by the time we got to the end of that year. And 8-9 years of hard work would be for nothing. And I feel like you guys are
and also, I guess, and I'm pretty sure 80% of the enjoyment would have been ripped out of it. Because we deal with business owners all day, every day, and they're passionate, really passionate about what they do, and passionate about building or delivering whatever they deliver, and that passionate kind of that passion, should I say, always crosses over, because we have passion about ours too. And I think if you were to ever lose how you're doing it and focus on a different way of trying to achieve what you're achieving, that would disappear too.
And how do you? So I guess how do you kind of measure your success? So when you look back, reflect, or when you're looking forward, what are success points for you?
Almost always the member outcomes. Are they? Because again, we have a broad spectrum, and most of our members are business owners, but that can be that they've been business owners, they've exited. What does that look like? Are they? I think, and you know what? It's hard. It's quite a hard process when somebody exits a business and then they've done really, really well. That adjustment is really tough. So having, as I say, the mentorship side of what we do, somebody sitting down with you once a quarter saying, you can go and do these things. Go and do it.
And also probably for them, especially after exit, just having that kind of connection with somebody there's also a business owner that they can talk to. Absolutely. Because there's a big change in someone's life when they exit a business. Usually there's a big hole that the business once filled, and everything. Then obviously there's a management of money that potentially may not earn anymore, which they're not used to. So normally that entrepreneurial person who's willing to take risks, because they know that if they lose it, they can make it again. They've now got to go from being, any entrepreneur's got an element of risk to them, and a risk appetite, to being perhaps more cautious, a change in philosophy.
Or do I need to be caused? Do I not need to be cautious? It's actually now because they've always been in control of it. Now all of a sudden they're not as in control of it. They that help and guidance and mentorship to understand, actually, do I need to be cautious? Do I not need to be cautious? And guidance is hugely valuable.
Success has been directly correlated to their own effort and wisdom, hasn't it? Whereas now it's down to maybe your effort and wisdom or your team. So it is a bit more. They've got to trust.
Which is why
they've got to find the right partnership.
Yeah, it's been a partnership and having that connection is so important. Yeah, particularly that stage.
And I guess as you've grown the business, you've had to try and find like-minded people to come into that business. Because it's really, it's really difficult to hold that philosophy. And then find other people who will either share that philosophy or you can educate and repeat, because that's probably. We've been really lucky with the people that we've managed to find. I'm sure you have as well. But it's really that's such a pressure, isn't it? To get that recruitment right, because it ultimately
it's difficult. Yeah, and I was talking to somebody the other day. It was actually a member of ours who's exited. We were just having this conversation because they goodness me, there must have been 200 or 300 people at one point. But I was talking about people. And I was saying, I sat down the other day, and what I realised is that I started out and it was just me, and then Amy, who's my sister, came on board as now director shareholder, and drives all of the kind of the brand and the events, everything you see that we do. Amy and Liv are doing it, and I was talking about kind of that was the core team at the start, and when you look at the senior leadership team now, and these are people, and I genuinely mean it 100%. If God forbid anything happened to me, the business would thrive. Hopefully not too much. No. It would absolutely thrive, and the unquestionable levels of trust. We have an amazing team in totality now, incredible, absolutely amazing people that I can only see kind of being the future of the firm, frankly. But that team going from just me to 2 to 7 people that are and then obviously,
do you think that was the toughest part, or do you think it's tougher after 7 to 10? That kind of growth. Where do you think the tough bit is in terms of as people come into the business? Yeah,
I mean, I think we're a total of 20 now. In terms of whatever, but and one of the reasons for that, in terms of what we do, because we're planners, investment managers, and the way we deliver it, I think a firm that isn't as tech adopted and tech innovative as us would probably need 30 or 40 to deliver the same kind of thing. But I think it's, I think there are challenging aspects to that, and I think it's often when you are growing quickly. And at the levels that you're growing at, and wanting to deliver that exceptional experience every single time. But I think actually what I have found, as those people, I guess, that have been at the business longest or have come in at the top level of the business kind of thing, I think when you get that level right, actually the rest really, really does grow with it.
Have you ever had a point where you perhaps challenged your own philosophy and thought, this is really hard now to keep this business operating at this level in terms of what it's delivering, how it approaches everything? It's hard to stay there. Was there ever a time where you thought, do you know what, maybe I will just take that step back, in terms of what we're trying to offer clients, just for, whether it be balance in your life. We talked before about, wanting to be in them client meetings, wanting to know what's going on, and did you ever get to that challenge point where you think, and I know I've got to do it like this?
That's such a good question. I think, and again, being really open, I think that challenge is there all the time. At no point do I ever think, should I drop what we do, drop a level? Never consider it. But it doesn't mean that challenge isn't always there around, how do we keep doing the next experience, and how do we, at this level, how do we keep maintaining
for me, it's I just see like every day as a challenge in the business in terms of to keep it up there. You've really got to be just so committed to that.
I think I find, I don't know if you find this, but I think there is that saying, necessity breeds innovation. And I think whenever I get to that point, and it can be sometimes, you might be somebody departs or whatever, or there's just a certain thing that happens that you need to, you want to consistently deliver. And I think necessity does breed innovation. You find a way. I think you find a way, And that way all of a sudden becomes a new way that ends up being more efficient and actually helps you go to the next level as opposed to dropping down a level.
But I find that challenge is not only there internally as well, but it's there externally. So when you, like, when we go to sometimes the supply chain and you say, oh, we're an accountant, they'll start to treat you like an accountant. And you're like, well, but not. They want you to treat me like an accountant. We're quite unique, and this is, and you feel like you're having to over-explain different things and stuff. But it's, but I feel like everybody has a perception over your industry, whether that's financial advice or accountancy, and it feels like, certainly from knowing you for a while and seeing the brand flourish and things like that you're doing everything you can to break some of those molds, really.
I think that's one of the things that's we talk about things that get you up in the morning, get you excited to go again and do all that. I think that's it. One of the things for me is it's interesting to know if it's the same for you, but I really enjoy that bit. Yeah. I really do enjoy that bit. And what about this? But when people have that impression of what you should be like, what you should be doing, what you think you're doing. Well, actually, no. Yeah. Let me tell you a bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
About what reality is.
I remember going to a new client prospect meeting, and I walked in, put my bag down, sat down, was just getting laptop out or notepad or whatever. It's a few years ago now, so it probably was a notepad, not a laptop.
Pen and paper.
But they slid a quote across the table to me and said,
"Okay,
we've got this quote. If you can't beat it, then we're going to give them the work. So just almost like, I haven't really got time, but here's the kind of gambit." Yeah. And I said, I'm just going to put my stuff away if that's all right. Yeah. And I'm going to leave. Yeah. And they said, what, you're not even going to try and beat it? I said, well, I don't even know what you need. Yeah, exactly. How am I supposed to quote for you? But I don't really know what you need. And they said, well, we're telling you. I said, no, that's what you want.
Yeah.
That isn't what you need.
Yeah.
So what you need is different, because first of all, I'm the advisor. I need to understand exactly what you want to achieve.
Right. Yeah.
And then our services need to be layered to take to the goals.
Yeah.
It's not just a piece of compliance work or a set of accounts, or if that's what I'm quoting for, I'm
that's not what we do.
That isn't what we do.
Exactly.
And they said, hang on a minute, then let's talk about it. And he put the quote on the side, and we chatted for about 2 hours.
Yeah, as you do. Yeah.
And I think what they ended up, in terms of what they ended up paying for services, was probably like 4 times what was on that piece of paper.
Yeah.
But what they got was exactly what they needed. And that delivered them huge amounts of value that's multiplies that fee.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting that people, like, until they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And it is about that sharing and that knowledge
transfer. Yeah. See, I use that saying all the time.
People don't know what they don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. It's a universal phrase, isn't it? That applies to all of us.
It's so true.
And just in terms of going back to that kind of people piece for like the team and how you've grown that team, what I'm sure you've got really good stats around keeping that team and motivating that team. But in terms of like, how do you try and make that internal culture different for them?
Yeah, I think for me, it's opportunity. Yeah. We genuinely mean it. I don't believe for any second that I have any greater voice or place than somebody that started 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Because literally as human beings, there's so much going on in here. It's a supercomputer. We're in a world of quantum now. But like, these things are insane. Yeah. And so are these things. So any human can have an instant impact on what we deliver to our members. And what we generally then create is what I'd like to think is an environment where anybody can achieve what they want to achieve, and actually can do any part of what we do at any point. There's obviously a learning curve. Yeah. And it's always huge, like in your business. it's always huge. But within that is opportunities for anybody to say, actually, I really fancy doing this? And actually, what about if we did this over here?
Yeah.
More the merrier.
Yeah, and I think what you see when you come into your business is that, that enthusiasm, excitement from the team.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
In terms of that, they're enthusiastic about the business, about the people they're meeting. It's hugely sort of, that's got to, obviously that comes from the culture you've set and the philosophy you have and the excitement that's in that business already.
Yeah.
And as long as you add the right people, this is kind of what comes out. But when we recruit, although we try and recruit on values, we also recruit on that raw, natural enthusiasm. Just seeing somebody in a meeting that can get excited about something,
absolutely,
and be passionate about it.
And we recruited someone recently who had wanted to break into this sector. Mad, no. and been finding it difficult because no experience, no qualifications. Had gone about kind of starting getting qualifications themselves. Fantastic, great, and also female, and it's still a male-dominated sector. But all she wanted was an opportunity, and that's literally the place we want to be and what we want to create. And we've got, part of the future plans, we've got ideas of academies and that kind of thing. And that's all you need to do, I think, is not all you need to do, but one of the key things you need to do is give an opportunity to someone and let them flourish. Because, particularly if you're bringing people on, you're bringing them on for a reason. Give them the room to do that.
I think that freedom is paramount, isn't it? To have people to have the freedom to express themselves.
Yeah.
As you don't see the real. We always talk in our business about trying to see your people grow to be the best version of themselves. Yeah. And unless you give them freedom, they're never going to do that. Never going to see that. And people have got to be allowed to express themselves, make mistakes. Yeah. Within it, that obviously within an environment, because we're in a compliant environment that's captured and things like that.
Hugely regulated.
But you have to let people be that person and. Through that you create learning.
And do you know what? You 100% become a better business for it, which means you deliver better outcomes to your members. Because if you're giving that freedom and autonomy, then, if they do see something that doesn't feel quite right, a data point doesn't feel quite right, they already know they've got the autonomy to just look into it. They look into it, they identify it, they come into the senior team with something that's really important that they've discovered. So they feel good about that, because that's brilliant that they've gone and done that. Then we can act on it and we're delivering better outcomes because we spotted an issue.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's literally the way it should be.
I think, and you I think that takes a leader to perhaps be vulnerable, but also be aware that they don't have the answer to everything. And allowing that team to be challenging as well. Yeah,
I don't know how you feel. I mean, I know, I'm on my job title said CEO, and the reason it says CEO is because that's what I have to put on the FCA form. I have no choice, because the FCA assume everyone that they regulate is the same size as HSBC.
Also, probably no one else wants the job.
There's always that. But the reality is, I've never looked to be a leader. I'll probably hold back on calling myself one, but I know that I am and I have to be. But it's so it's not. I was the first in. I built the thing, so by default, I guess I'm there. But the reality is, I am who I am, and I think if you want to deliver things the way you want to deliver them in terms of experience, and you have that humility element to it, then that ends up being naturally what the culture is. And it isn't always for everyone either, and that's fine. But for those it is right for, it's a great place.
I think that brings us nicely on to sort of a question that I've got for you, which is around, because I think I've asked this of myself so many times over the last sort of, say, 10 years, is you find that fire from within you, you find that commitment to the cause, the purpose that is used quite a lot nowadays. And I don't know about yourself in terms of like childhood background, but I had a very normal, what you define as like a normal childhood. I had two parents that worked. And so I sort of sometimes look and think, well, how did I find myself here? And like, with so much drive and so much purpose and so much want to change things and make things better. Like, where did that kind of come from? And I feel like when we talk, I see the same in you, what I see in myself sometimes. And I've had this conversation over and over in my head, and like, you know, I know that we both had largely similar pasts in terms of we've both got kids who are similar ages. We've both gone through loss of a parent, things like that. And I feel like all of these things come into my drive. You know, they weren't necessarily something don't feel like I was born with. This drive to do things, but over life I've amassed this. There's only one way to do it, and that's the right way. And I feel like I'd like to, maybe from my own knowledge, like and understanding myself, trying to ask that question of you. Where do you think that kind of, you know, we put that high level for yourself and the business? Where do you feel like that comes from?
It's a really, really good one, and it's super interesting because I think if I think about my upbringing, it was super normal, amazing childhood. I mean, Dad really was main breadwinner, but he ran his own business. He was a mechanic by trade. Then when that got a little bit more difficult, he was had car sales instead. And then later on in life, he got fed up with that, and he went into furniture. So he was quite entrepreneurial. Did really well with the building that he purchased, and got a compulsory purchase order. But with that, and I think this is another thing that actually, I think one of those things in particular, this thing that happened in particular, led me to kind of this approach, because I never remember wanting for anything growing up, but I knew we weren't wealthy by any stretch of imagination. You know, I know I didn't have an overseas kind of holiday with the family till I was 15, 16, but we weren't poor. You know, anything we wanted, new trainers, wherever we had them, kind of thing. We never struggled. But I remember when Dad, and he worked hard, but he was always home for dinner. And that's an obsession I have. It follows through. But when he sold his building and a compulsory purchase order, there's two things he'd always dreamt of. One was having a Range Rover, and one was having a property overseas. And he did both of them. And you know what? And I never thought about it until today. Maybe that's where my approach comes from, in terms of success being so much defined by what we deliver for our clients.
Because you would have heard that in the family, hey, we're going to have a place abroad, I'm going to get a Range Rover. And it would have been driving him.
Me and Amy went with him to get the Range Rover. Brilliant. I vividly remember it. And I think because I'd seen him, I think the drive bit, I think I'd always seen him, and I remember seeing when times were a bit tight. You know, we understand, we know the conversations they're having. You know, the kids are remarkable in terms of what they pick up. You realise this when you get your own. So you know that's kind of happening, but you know that they always got through. We never had any issues. We'd always, you know, they'd always look after us. If we wanted something, it was always there. Then they'd still progress, and he got the house of his dreams, which is in the Westlands in Newcastle, because he was a paper boy around there when he was a kid. So he said, one day I'll get a house in the Westlands. So he's always very aspirational.
So it seemed like clear visions. But in the same way you were educating your clients, those clear visions for him were personal, not business.
Correct.
The business was a vehicle.
A vehicle in order to achieve them.
To get the personal. It was the personal belief and drive that was driving the business.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting that was there, isn't it?
It is. It's fascinating, really, when you explore it. It was obviously very aspirational, which is, and the entrepreneurial bit come as a result of being aspirational around the things like the house and the Range Rover and the thing overseas, and obviously giving us amazing holidays, and even if in the UK, they're still the best holidays you remember.
And all the same that we flew to Jersey when I was 16. That was our first time I ever went on a plane.
Right.
And it was we used to go to Wales quite a lot.
We were Wales, down south, Poole, Dorset, that kind of Christchurch, that kind of area.
And I guess like because I've only in reflection, I was not aware of it at the time, and obviously when these key figures in your life sort of do just vanish. There's obviously a period of instability, and then I always remember reflecting on it, thinking, I feel like that fire that was in me, that was growing, all of a sudden really grew. And it was like, and I don't know whether that was from now being, the older boy in our family. I've got to look after my mum.
Yeah.
I was already really aware I've got to look after my children, my wife.
Yeah, of course.
And so like this sense of
Yeah.
this has to work, this has to be.
Do you feel like it's, when I look back now, particularly when my dad got ill and passed away, because the timing of it was when I started out on my own.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like I subconsciously had to fill a gap that he left.
Yeah.
And that was, that gap that then, I need to drive forward on this now because he's not here anymore.
And weirdly, I've seen it in other people, like so friends of mine who've lost parents and then see them change over perhaps a 2 or 3 year period that, all of a sudden they push themselves a bit harder.
Yeah.
Almost like there's I don't know whether it's a comfort zone when you've got both parents are alive, and certainly like from a son to a father.
You lose your mentor, don't you?
Yeah.
Your first and your biggest and your most influential
the
mentor.
first person you'd ring if there's a problem.
Always. Yeah.
Can't fix something.
Yeah.
So like your dad was clearly like handy, in those regards, from the job he did. But like that was
also means
mine. It's like I wonder what my dad thinks.
Yeah.
And
Always. Yeah. Driving home, something around the mind. Whether it's home based or it is something more practical. It's even at work.
Yeah.
In terms of handling something.
It's also I think like certainly my dad, I feel like had a really good moral core that, if you were not sure about a decision or something, just that like senior perspective, wasn't it? It was just really useful. And, but I do feel like that you almost feel like I felt like perhaps a lot more alone when they weren't here.
Yeah.
You were trying to and now it was like, well, it is on me now.
And
I either stand up or I don't.
It's exactly that. And I don't mind admitting, sometimes that's tough.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is a bit... it's kind of, there's actually nowhere to go to kind of sense check this thought process or this decision. That is still quite tough at 46.
Even harder as well, because you would be in a business on your own.
Yeah.
And in life in that regard on your own. So then decisions could be, because as you start off with either one or two of you in that business, often there's decisions you've got to make that are like, actually, I need a perspective on this, and I haven't got it.
Yeah.
And then the same outside of work.
And the interesting thing is when we lost Dad, the time that he got ill was linked to my first commercial successes in my own business. Mm-hmm. So I'll explain. When I first started out, I started out as an appointed rep of a bigger firm to get started, which was definitely the perfect way of doing it. And I was up in Newcastle upon Tyne, and it was a whole all-day thing, about to collect Best Newcomer from a firm that got like 2,000 advisors, I think, at the time, which was amazing. And Amy was with me, who's obviously my sister, and there was just me and Amy in the business at the time. And I'd brought Amy on because she was a marketing exec, and her CEO that she was working for was based in the Isle of Man, and it was a nightmare going back and forth. Didn't enjoy it. I was drowning in paperwork because it was going well. So I brought her on just to help for a bit to see until she saw what she wanted. And anyway, we got a call from Mum saying, Dad's had a blood test. He's got to go back to hospital. Need you back. So we had to leave at lunchtime, and my award would have been in the afternoon. But we did. I instantly got in the car and came back, and I won. And I think his diagnosis was acute myeloid leukemia.
Okay.
And again, that was a shock because Dad was always super fit and like didn't smoke or drink heavily or anything like that. So it was weird. So I think from that moment then, that kind of was associated with it. Yeah. And then, again, it's almost fate-wise, is the fact that then my sister and my dad were super close, really, really close. We were all close with Dad and Mum. But, there's the 10-year gap between Amy and myself. And I think, little girl, quite a bit after having two boys who were 14 months apart is kind of quite different.
And also he'd probably got more time.
Yeah, that's true. That's such a good point. Yeah.
Given the age difference, he's probably... pushing his business and was busy.
Absolutely.
Whereas actually, and probably a bit wiser, a bit older.
Definitely.
We all have that go through that.
Yeah, I think so. And just at that moment, then Dad was pretty ill. You got 4 rounds of chemo, stem cell transplants that he had to go through on his 60th birthday. But I think Amy then being with me every day, and again, I'm not saying I was Amy's perfect comfort blanket by any stretch of imagination, but I'm a brother, and we were together. Yeah. Even though we didn't discuss it every day, we were in each other's company.
Supporting each other.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, we've got Darryl as well, my other brother, and we as a 3, we're very much comforted each other and looked after Mum and things, and Dad. But I think, as fate would have it, and that's really where my business started. Because I started in 2013. He was diagnosed in October 2013, and sadly, we lost him in October 2014.
Do you think that that event pinned Amy to the business or to you? Because
such
you said she was coming in just to see how she got on and maybe use it to pivot to something else.
Yeah, definitely.
But actually, like, because all of that was imprinted at the same time.
Yeah, well,
it's sort of like this is
during that process. Amy started to be so important. You know, Ash then came on board. Then we started with apprentices, and it started to kind of grow throughout 2014. Then we got directly authorised with the regulator. So yeah, maybe so, because Amy then started to think, actually, Wes, what about if you did this way, you did this way, and like Amy was as big an influence on even though we were tiny then, as big an influence on the business then as I was. And it let me to go and do the things I was doing in terms of building the business, seeing new clients as they were back then, and growing it. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah,
and I feel like I guess how much do you think he's played a part over the years? Because I often like talk to Dad a little bit, or say, oh, come on, what would you do? Or like, do you feel like there's that connection still there, or do you feel like it's more transferred to building something for your family and
I think there's a bit of both, Steve. I think it's, again, a really good question. I think there's the combination of the two things. I think definitely think in my mind at moments, if I'd be asking somebody a question here, I'd be asking my dad, I need to answer it myself. And so you're already thinking, what would Dad think? If he was here, what would he say? And I think the thing I would say is I'd say this with all my family, but as we're talking about my dad and obviously passing away and things, it's that humility that he carried, that I believe we carry through, and then you touch and feel in the business as well. And I think that's really attaching to that and make sure that's the core of who you are. It comes naturally, obviously, but like just knowing that that's there. And that's in the entire family and how we do what we do as a business. It's super important.
And I think obviously that humility brings us nicely onto that community piece that I think finishes that kind of whole purpose piece and the people piece, is that you're really keen on giving back and doing more for outside of the business as well. And, just talk us through a bit of some things you do.
I mean, that even is so much attached to Dad, because we when he passed away in 2014, the first thing we in fact, just prior to him passing away, we were first ever charity golf day we did. We raised money for University Hospital North Staffs, which is where obviously he was getting his treatment. And because they looked after him so well and they were so good at informing us and keeping us involved and together, and when he was going through chemotherapy and all that kind of stuff, we were so driven to raise it. And I remember saying it, and I genuinely still mean it now, if we raise money and it means the nurses and the doctors have more tea and coffee and biscuits, brilliant. Because of what those people do. And my wife's a nurse, former nurse. So I know it's a vocational thing. And that's then kind of, obviously,
but weirdly, that makes a massive difference to their day-to-day, doesn't
absolutely.
it?
And I remember meeting Steve after the second or third one we did, and we did really, really well, and raised a load of money. And he said, actually, we're going to, let me tell you what we're going to use this for. We're going to spend it on this thing, this kind of new piece of equipment, which I didn't understand, but that was going to, be amazing for cancer patients or whatever it was. I was absolutely blown away because it's tangible. I can actually feel that. But I still feel that, well, that's okay. But if it's biscuits and tea, brilliant. Fine, brilliant.
And I think sometimes it doesn't matter what it is, it's the value that they feel by somebody caring enough to go and do that.
Absolutely.
Like you say, say my wife's a ex-midwife and sonographer, but she, almost like in COVID, there was a real I should go back, and it's a sense of calling, isn't it?
It is a calling.
And And like, exactly I feel like they don't, they don't ask for anything in that role. They just feeling that people respect them and appreciate them.
Yeah, that means
massive, isn't it?
Oh, it means absolutely spades. Yeah, it's so important for them to feel that and know that and understand that. Because again, as a British society, we're probably can be very quick to jump on the NHS and waiting times and all that kind of stuff, without really understanding that how chronically underfunded it is and how big it is, and it's an absolute animal. But on the on the front line, day to day, these people what they're delivering to other people's lives and other people's families is massive. So
and they're doing that really without real true leadership. And like in your business, you've got people have got somebody in you that they're led by, they're followed. I know you say not necessarily natural leader, but you do what you do, and you lead by example, and so they feel enthused by that. These people are doing that maybe without that, which is just makes it even more incredible.
So far away from the decision making process that they haven't, they wouldn't even see it. So and they've still.
We have this when we first started the business, and we started to do like really good celebrations at Christmas, or spending lots of money on the team in terms of that cultural piece and everything. Claire would be like, in the NHS, we got £50 for Christmas. That was it. It's like,
absolutely.
And we still we're driven, and and it is an amazing. There's not. I'm not saying that anyone needs that extra spend or anything else, but we're trying to create a nice culture when you've got that extra money to spend. But these people go in, day out, not for the rewards. They do it because that's why.
The reward is what they end up.
But
doing.
I would say, the things that you've done for that unit probably inspires those people more than a monetary pay rise or a
I hope so. Yeah, definitely, and it is literally the least we can do. And
that golf day is still alive and going.
Still going. Do it every year. JCB now, obviously, and again, the way that we are, the way that the people come to that and support it is absolutely amazing. Humbled every year by that, because ultimately that's where it goes to.
Well, you'll probably have people supporting you that were around you at the time that that awful event happened. But also people who've learnt the story and also you've collected along the way as well, in terms of that. But
and we've been able to broaden that out recently we've got a platinum partnership with Port Vale Football Club, which again is obviously interesting for me, I'm a Stoke fan. but and then I got to learn through that actually how their foundation works, and we've supported them. So we went, before Christmas, humbling experience. Wrapping presents for their foundation, so they get presents in and then get them wrapped for children that might not ordinarily get a Christmas present. So you're knowing, leading up to Christmas, the list that your kids tell you, the stuff they want, and obviously you're organising that and you're getting it, or more realistically, Helen's organising that and getting it. But then as a team, we went and spent a day wrapping presents, and you're wrapping the presents thinking, wow, this might be the one present they get, and that is.
Fundamental difference.
It's why is this happening first and foremost in the world, but secondly, crikey, we need to do more. What more can we do?
And I think that you can take the view of seeing it or not seeing it, can't you? And I think once you've seen it, you have to do something about it.
Absolutely.
And I feel like from a community perspective, we're very aligned in terms of. We've got financial reward for what we've done, and that's great. But if you don't do anything with it, what
absolutely.
does it really mean?
That's right. And again, there's we know that there's tax revenues, and we know kind of where things are from a government perspective and all that kind of stuff. But it's not about that really. It's kind of what can we give of ourselves that can try and make a difference. And just try and help. Just
and it's money and time, isn't it? Like
it is.
Doing that wrapping of the presents and things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's so much more powerful to give time,
of course,
as well as money. Obviously, every charity needs funding and everything.
Absolutely.
But giving time, it earths you in amongst everything, and you feel like actually this is, I've sort of in the business world, I'm operating the business, I'm doing all this, but actually all of a sudden taking time out of that to go, I'm going to help this cause and to spend time.
Well, the way I think about that is that you never know at any point, I know we do this for a living, but you never really know at any point what money is going to look like for you.
Yeah.
But you do know your time's limited. Yeah. And I think that's why it has that level of value.
Do you know, it's quite interesting, just talking about parents and fathers, but I remember stood at my dad's funeral, and it was really interesting because the one thing I remember having this like epiphany moment, because we, over the years running a business, you always struggle with like that work-life balance, being in, cutting yourself in half and being in two places at once, and equally being present in those places. I remember looking around the room, and there was his like fishing friends, there was his allotment friends, there was his long-term friends, there was his family, there was people from work, there was people from, he used to spend a lot of time over in India, there was people from India, there was obviously us, his core family, and I just thought, you know what, like, here's me really struggling with work-life balance at that time, and thinking, all these people from all your walks of life have come to this, they all love you the same, and I never, like you said, like, your dad was always at home for tea. I never felt like my dad was ever not in the house.
There.
So I always like felt like he was always there. I just think, like, I was just sort of stood there going, how the bloody hell did you do that?
How did you do that?
Like, because that's really hard.
That's true.
And I just think like, that was really, always, I remember having that epiphany thinking, come on, if I could ask you anything right now.
How did you make
what
this
I'd ask
bit
you.
work?
How did you do that? Because that was that's the bit I still today struggle with. Like, because you want to be a parent, you want to be a husband, you want to be a family member, a friend. You want to run the business, but you know with the business you're going to do it one way. And you feel so like committed to it.
Absolutely.
But you don't want to take anything off anyone else.
Because you're delivering those outcomes for your clients or your members.
And I'm in that business for my family as well, you know, and it's like that provision, wanting to provide. And
what about their outcomes and their experience?
I feel like that's, I still feel like that's the, you know, if I could have 5 minutes, it's definitely one of the questions I'd ask him. And just go, just tell me, how did you do that? You know, I feel like I'm going to spend my life working it out, and then I'm going to get up there and he's going to go,
You did it, mate.
You missed it. Just tell me like something that I didn't know or something like that. But just feel like that's you know, that's there is things that they got massively right, and I think
I think so. I think and again, no kind of saying it was easier back then at all. It definitely wasn't easier. But I think, you know, in terms of the advances of technology and where your work ends up being now, does make it in your life more constantly. So I try and kind of, I don't know how you do it, I try and equate it now to thinking less about balance and thinking more about making sure that actually, because the lines do blur, but knowing that the family is part of the business, because it is theirs as much as it's mine, and you know, and talking to them about that, because you know, sometimes the business does seep into the family time. So like if I can make those two, or I can help those two kind of understand each other and be partners, then actually that balance thing is naturally more there. That's not easy, and it doesn't
I think
happen all the time.
Sort of similar, really. I sort of try now more to have more fluidity around like time around business. So like, and I guess COVID probably helped in that respect, in terms of that if there's something that's important that's in the day, just I go without any,
I don't miss anything.
But then I'm quite happy to pick an email up at night.
Absolutely.
And I, you know, I think probably pre-COVID, people used to see you working later as being, you're not. I always used to think if you send an email at like 11 o'clock at night, it's like you're unorganised and you can't manage your time. And if you send an email at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's like you're uber organised and you can manage your time.
Scheduling's
but
amazing.
Like, I just see it as saying, well, I need to probably do 6 to 8 hours a day to keep my balance. But it doesn't matter when I do them, as long as I deliver. And as long as I deliver to here and to the children and my family and my wife, then how I do it. I mean, you know, I used to like really be bothered about when I sent emails.
I'm exactly the same.
It doesn't really matter. In reality, it doesn't really matter. And it's only someone's opinion of how
absolutely.
you do things, and just think actually it's so much more important that I've been to that event.
And also, and in doing that, you mentioned in terms of actually being present, and in doing that, you're able to then to be present for your family. You can be present for your business, and you can be present for your clients by having that kind of understanding that these things are fluid, and they do kind of mix into each other.
And I think those like I said, both act for business owners. And I think at that level, everybody appreciates it. Like
they
in terms of that,
they do.
They know they've probably got the same challenge at the other end of the email.
I know you're busy, because I am.
And it's like, exactly. And they're like, look, I don't mind when you did it. I'm just glad I've got it.
Yeah, and exactly right.
And I also know I want to see you. And I find that's very common in our client bank is that as much as we and this you probably find this, as much as we want to see our clients through to their success points, they genuinely want that back.
They really do.
They really want to see us successful. They really like to know that that we're doing well as a business, but also as people. I think we create that kind of equilibrium where we're looking out for them as individuals, and they'll look out for us. And it's really lovely to have that kind of
two-way, isn't it?
Really,
because you do. I mean, I do. I put our members on a pedestal because I see what they've managed to achieve. So for them to have that feeling, and when they do verbalise that to you, you've got an amazing business. You're doing great. Just keep doing that bit well or that bit well, and it's like, really, because of where it's coming from.
I constantly see like inspiration out of our client base. Constantly. I feel like I go into each day and learn from somebody every day in terms of like whether that be just a way they've approached something or even that like rock hard mindset. They're just tenacious and not giving up, and then they've got what they wanted or whatever it is. You see examples of that every day in our client bank, and I just embrace that and think I just want to see more of it because it helps me. As well as
definitely.
We hope we help them, but
and that's where we use this the concept of this shared knowledge concept, and this is where the Net-Worth Network comes from. Is the fact that then I'm 100% with you on that experience, and then my thought process is right. Okay, well, Mr. Business owner over here, actually, this really works for me. I got this from him. Let me tell you about it because I think it can help you too. And I think that is the beauty of certainly what we're trying to achieve, and I think you're similar minded in driving that forward and that experience.
And it's amazing because as you get like into sort of, shall we say, middle age, but as you're getting a bit older, you're very much like a makeup of all of those little experiences, aren't you? It's like a million experiences that are all tiny that some way put an impression on you that you've carried them with you. And then your advice is really a mixture of all the people who have advised you over the years, all the knowledge you've learned, experiences.
And how much richer does that make you? So naturally, by sharing that, you're making their lives richer.
And we're definitely on common ground there because we
even personally
I hate if someone said to me, I don't really understand it, I'll just do what you say. That's like I hate that because I'm like, well, if you don't understand it, I'm not doing my job properly.
Let me help you understand it first.
Let's start again. Let's go back to the start and let's go through it again because it's not that I want you to make the decision. I just want you to understand how that decision affects you and understand what you're considering by making that decision.
Why and the direction it's going.
Exactly. And if someone doesn't understand it, then I know that I haven't explained it. I take full responsibility for that. And
accountability, mate. Definitely. I
totally I'm responsible that you do understand it. And I know you will go with what we say. But the reality is, until you understand it, I can't move on. It might sound like a bear with a sore head, but you're like, no, it really, really bothers me that they must understand it.
Absolutely.
And then we obviously can talk about what the right decision is.
I find that hugely rewarding when you take... for what we do, take members on a journey, particularly around things like investing, because it does seem like the matrix to people that don't know it for the first time, and kind of you're debunking that over time, and all of a sudden you get a few years down the line after going through the process of their financial plan and building it and managing it, and we're having conversations about markets, and you're having conversations about sectors, and conversation about what they do for a living, and actually they've got an overseas manufacturing and what they feel like it's like on the ground. And I'm thinking, oh, that's interesting, because I read a bit of data the other day about our allocation, and we're thinking about that. So to know that on the ground, and it's absolutely mind blowing, really, when you have those conversations.
And I think genuinely we, both of us, you'll learn daily from those clients, and I don't think they really realise they're teaching you.
Not at all.
It's kind of like, but then it's then making sure that that, like you say, that shared knowledge is so important.
And I think there's a bit in that of you've got to be willing to absorb that. It's your approach to your clients that allow you to absorb that. Because if you were your agenda based, I want to look after your payroll and your accounts, I want to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how much it is, like the example you gave earlier, then you won't get to that point, because you're not in a position of humility to take that information in, because you're not listening. So that's why that approach is so important.
I think that listen first
always
is huge, isn't it? But I completely agree, and it's those, I always think that they there's so many things that I've experienced with clients, whether that be just how people respond to like tough times. It's not just about the knowledge, it's that experience, it's their ultimate behaviour through things that, like, they're, if you think as one business as us, as either Semper or as IronMarket, you're exposed to only the things that you would see as that business. So your experience and knowledge is only bound to that point, whereas we've got all the experience of hundreds of other businesses and 100 other people, and take something like COVID. I watched our clients go through that. We 100% were like right behind them, supported them as much as we could. But the reality was that I got so much out of our client bank out of COVID, watching how that point of adversity played out for different people and how they responded to it. And what we were so proud of, like the way in which they galvanised, and they had tenacity, and they weren't like, this isn't going to beat us, we're going to outplan it, or we're going to, just be agile in that moment. It makes you realise that, like, actually so much is possible. And when you have those moments, if you go back to the start, when we talked about the challenge of constantly trying to push a culture kind of first business, is that you remember all of that resilience.
You do.
And you go, actually, I just need to, if you feel that challenge, you go, it's all right, I can do this, because people around me have done far greater things.
It's inspiring.
Created more inspiration around me than perhaps I know I'm creating.
It's inspiring, and it also, because they're often from different sectors, types of business, worlds even sometimes, and markets, it's something, if you stay in your lane, you wouldn't ordinarily come up with that thought process or idea or plan. But because they're in a completely different sector or world or industry, it's something they apply to theirs. That would work over here. And all of a sudden your business is better for it. My business is 100% better, or our business is 100% better for the experiences and the conversations that we have with our members. 100%. Unequivocal.
But only because you listen.
Correct.
Because if you knew exactly what you were doing, didn't open that channel, you wouldn't change anything, would you?
No.
Because you'd only believe what your side of it. But just by listening and engaging and taking time to understand how your operation affects them and how you can evolve that to change.
So true.
It absolutely opens the door for that evolution to just be perpetual, really.
Absolutely.
And just on that point, as a last question, just share with us perhaps what the future holds for Wes IronMarket. Obviously you can continue to be successful and move forward, but in terms of like, what does the future hold for?
Really.
Business?
I feel like we're really still at the start of this journey. really at the start. And I think particularly with, and that's why I appreciate kind of the opportunity to come and sit and talk to you. But when we talk, and outside of this, and you explain how you see us from the outside. Really appreciate kind of the feedback and how we look and feel and act, because I feel like we're really at the start of this journey. And we have a commercial plan behind it, but ultimately it's about us being that wealth mentor that can deliver that total experience for the people that we want to attract. And that's working, and that's feels super early in that process. So I think there's that building out is certainly what I see, and the adoption of tech and the innovation of tech in terms of delivering exceptional experience is huge for us. Also, educating more, championing advice is really important to me, and educating, financial education, through Fint with AJ and Curtis being on board and the reach they have. We found. Which is why Fint was invented, really, but a kind of a demographic and a kind of Gen Z maybe, but a demographic and an area that is thirsty for but short of real proper financial education. So building that out to educate a next generation, so that perhaps they, we do ourselves out of those that get to 40 and think, oh, I didn't do anything about my pension or about my future or whatever it is. But I think if we can educate earlier on, that's super important to me.
Makes financial
and the continual,
easier then.
Absolutely, and continual financial education of business owners.
It certainly feels like from the outside that you're trying to reframe and re-establish what an advisory firm in your industry should look like, feel like. And I really genuinely hope that, there's lots of budding advisors and, people in maybe have established their own business, either listening to this or watching you closely. Because the more iron markets that enter the industry, and they might create you some competition, but it'll only make the industry a better place.
Absolutely.
And I think, and I really, we're really keen to continue to watch and see how you develop that out, because I feel like the time we've spent together and understood each other's businesses over the last few years has been great really to see the success you've had, and I hope it just continues. Thanks very much for joining us on Unparalleled.
Really appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Loved it.
And
it's been great.
Hope to have you back again soon.
Anytime.
Cheers, Wes.
Cheers,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thanks a lot, mate.